Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for joining us here on this beautiful Sunday. I am one half of the Brunch Busters. I am Bobby Munson. The man beside me, you know him. The other half, Chris Parrish. And today, joined by our very, very special guest right down below, Mr. Tom Colohue. Thank you for joining us here on Busting Out. Very excited to have you.
Glad to be here, and honestly very insulted that I'm not in the video. Where is my name? Where is the star power? Why are we not celebrating this further? I'm just sat here seeing your names everywhere. I'm just a guy in the box. Fine. I know how it is. It's fine.
We got to have a ticker set up, don't we, Parrish? I believe so, right?
I am
there we go. Yeah.
Insulted.
Oh, hold on. No, it's not that one.
We will by the end of the show.
Very glad to be here, guys. Looking forward to going off the rails, which apparently is the instruction there. I'll be sure to go extra crazy for you guys. You just wait.
I knew I forgot something.
Preparation is key here on Busting Out.
This is probably why I don't have kids yet.
But we're also joined by a plethora of wonderful individuals here in the comment section here today. Again, Ed Fry's joining us. Ed, good morning to you, good sir. Glad to see that you're able to join us. Of course, give myself a shout out by throwing my own channel up there for you guys. And of course, our very special guest as well, too, because his name deserves to be on the screen.
I mean, that's one way of doing it. I'm just celebrating the fact that so many people I recognize are already in the chat. So many friendly names.
That's right. And we got Lauren Goodnight joining, who also made an appearance on Our Local Establishment with some of our contributors here as well, too, in the year-end awards episode. So that was fantastic. Really wonderful job that was done there as well, too.
And to be clear, in that particular video, that was when Ed said that Scottish and Irish people are basically the same thing. I haven't forgotten, Ed. I'm coming for you.
That's really that is tough to do right there. But also being joined in the chat by Turnbuckle Studios. Yes, that is our good friend Carl Carafel. Carl, how you doing? He wants to know what's up, gents. And then we got also another great contributor here, Melball Collins as well joining us. It seems like we got just about the whole Olay crew.
There we go. We have some.
Oh, I got a ticker.
Yeah, you got a ticker.
I ran my mouth just long enough for you to get it in there. Perfect. Good job, Parrish. Now we're rocking and rolling. Apparently, we're here to talk. We're here to talk some wrestling, maybe some stuff about content creation as well too. Where do we want to start, Parrish? What do you got for us?
Well, I think no better place is to start with the boom. I feel we got to talk about Adam Cole, baby, because he is back. He makes a return, and dare I say, one of his best promos he's ever put out, and that's saying a lot because this guy might be one of your top 3 in the current stage of pro wrestling when it comes to the promo game. And he announces he's back, and he's the bad news for the entire AEW locker room. What a better story right now than Adam Cole actually coming back, just from all the crap he's going on that happened with being able to actually come back, do what you want to do what you love to do, despite, not being able to even fly at some points just because of what's going on. Like, I think this is just a great story. Adam Cole, baby, back in professional wrestling, back in AEW.
Yeah, and it was exactly what AEW needs right now, too. They need someone with that kind of star quality. And again, I think that this did better for Adam Cole and for the AEW fans than it did his original debut within the company, because I felt that it was a little bit buried with the debut of Bryan Danielson on the same night. This time, it was all Adam Cole in the spotlight, ready to shine. And man, if AEW needed a star more than ever, they needed it right now. And yeah, this was a good moment for him. I want to find out, Tom, what do you think of Adam Cole's return here?
So Adam Cole came into WWE at an extremely good time. Sorry, I'm going to roll that back. Came into AEW at an extremely good time for AEW. It was a time when CM Punk was arriving, Bryan Danielson, we had Cesaro, Samoa Joe getting more involved as well. We started to see a lot of really strong names coming over from the competition, or who had sworn to never wrestle again. But Adam Cole was the one that stood out, because Adam Cole was the future. You saw plenty of wrestlers. CM Punk felt like the past returned. It felt like AEW had done Ghostbusters and just dragged someone back from the brink of destruction to still put on great matches and still put on great shows. Didn't end like that, but it started like that. Bryan Danielson was always going to deliver. You knew every match was going to be fantastic. I watched him versus Minoru Suzuki because I can't ever ignore Murder Grandpa in any situation. But once again, Adam Cole was and is the future. Losing him when they did had a huge impact. And it was at a time just before a whole lot of more people were going to go missing. It has been a difficult few months for AEW. When he came in, it felt like the gap was so close between AEW and WWE. But Triple H going to creative, the return of people such as Bayley, for example, the recent returns and success of names like Braun Strowman as much as anything, Johnny Gargano coming back, Emma returning. There is a level of trust which wrestlers seem to have in the WWE now that wasn't there before. And as a result of that, and the injuries and the CM Punk situation, AEW started to lose some of that luster. Adam Cole being back changes everything once again. It reassures their future, and it tells me they're heading in exactly the right direction once again. To be slightly cynical, though, they needed someone to return that week. After all, a lot of people really thought they were going to see Sasha.
Yeah. It's Mercedes Moné? Because, yeah.
It depends if you read it how it's spelled. If you read it how it's spelled, it ain't right. But Mercedes Money is what she's gone for.
Yeah. No, I just to go off the rails a little bit, it was just really funny when in her theme song, she's saying money, but the announcers are saying Monet. And then I saw a rendition because I'm very critical of what her theme song was because when you're related to Snoop Dogg, I expect a banger. And somebody just replayed her entrance with the Monet song, and I couldn't stop laughing. But kind of going in transition and back to Adam Cole, I love the fact that he's back because I do think this is one of the most interactive wrestlers as of late with the fans. I say this because I say you are definitely over when you have two things in your entrance where the crowd is absolutely on par with you. Whether it's now the Boom or the Adam Cole baby, those fans are now interactive and they want to do that. They're on their feet. It's very much like when you hear the glass shatter and everybody goes crazy. It's the what, right? But at the same time, people are invested 100% in Adam Cole, everything he's doing before he even locks up in his match. And I think this is a very rare wrestler in professional wrestling. And I think the fact that he's back gives you that over-popular babyface to go up against the over-hated heel in MJF at some time. I think this is the money match for AEW down the road. Don't F it up because there's money written all over this. Don't give it to me right away. Like you have they're kind of prone to rush into a good match. Give me a nice slow burn because they showed in the CM Punk MJF when you do that, it's magic.
Yeah. Now, is that a money match or a Monet match there, Persh?
It's undisputed is what it is.
Ooh, nice touch. Nice touch.
Whenever you start talking about someone called Money, I just hear Shane McMahon's theme playing in my head.
Yeah. Well, I go even further back and start thinking the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
Money. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Adam Cole is going to add all sorts of depth. I mean, the best part about him is he takes himself seriously. And that's why, despite, you know, everyone can make arguments about physical size and stuff like that, but you don't see it because he takes his wrestling seriously. He takes himself seriously. He can cut a promo like nobody else. He's definitely up there when it comes to promos inside that ring. And when you can believe in a guy, that's when you can get behind him. And I think that's why Adam Cole instantly makes that connection so well with the fan base, is that ability to make you believe every word he says and everything that he produces inside the squared circle.
I've got to respond to this, unfortunately. So there's a thing that happened. I kind of have to apologize on behalf of Shane McMahon. Because if not for, well, Ed originally, but also my channel accidentally summoning Shane McMahon, we'd have a lot less of him. The feud against Braun Strowman, that was kind of our fault. I do apologize for that. The return at last year's... we do have to apologize for that. But wandering away from Shane McMahon, because haven't we all been trying to do that for long enough now? I was there in Blackpool for NXT UK's takeover show when the Undisputed Era attacked Imperium. It wasn't so much lifting the roof off the place as there will never be a roof on the place again. The level of love that people have for this guy, as much as anything you consider, even outside of wrestling now, because he's reached the gaming audience via Up Down Down, via his own Twitch channel. He's reached an audience beyond wrestling. And when you get people who go beyond wrestling, they can drag your whole company forward. You can strap a company onto the back of Adam Cole, and they know that.
Yeah, perfect.
And you hit a good point though, because when we talk about like if we talk about crossover stars, I know we mentioned Sasha Mercedes. I mean, she does have the crossover appeal with being in the Mandalorian. There's others out there, just to name a few, like John Cena and Dwayne Johnson. Adam Cole also has a crossover appeal, and it's not the sexy Hollywood movie blockbuster kind of one that, we're accustomed to. No, it's the new age streaming platform, kind of like an Austin Watson Xavier Woods type of situation with Up Down Down. But that's just it. Like, he has, if you watch any of the stuff he does with the party, they're all streaming on individual streams, except for Xavier Woods for obvious reasons. But his is clearly the powerhouse between the three. And it has a lot to do with his likability. Like, he is one of the most liked wrestlers in the game right now. And there's just a level of, when he was down, you can tell there are people genuinely caring about his health. They are more protective about, I'd rather him live another day healthy than be back in a ring. Whereas wrestling fans usually don't care about the health. They just want to see their guy back. But people generally cared about his health. I think that shows you a lot about the care and his reputation. That point, but at the same time, his popularity grows and grows and grows. It's why people, I think, always come back when they hear that he's too small. They always defend him. On top of that, as a Shawn Michaels fan growing up, this guy separates his size from a fight and makes it believable, and that's why he is as good as he is. He knows how to make every match believable, and I think that just matters, especially in today's day and age. So I'm just really happy he's back, because he was a reason I was a fan again, because it's hard to watch wrestling for this long and always be engaged, but Adam Cole is definitely one of those guys I feel keeps you engaged every aspect of the way.
Adam Cole, in many ways, proves that wrestling and media has moved on. You think back to the Monday Night Wars, and the WWF at the time slogan was "Where the big boys play." Where the big boys play. That was one of the key things where, everything really important is happening on this channel, but you can't relate to a Hulk Hogan. You can't. Hulk Hogan is not your average guy. You can't relate to a John Cena all that much. John Cena is not your average guy. You can't relate to a Undertaker. He's not even alive. It's very difficult to relate to someone who's a dead man unless you are yourself a dead man. And I know they're out there, but I'm not one of them myself. So watching someone like Adam Cole in action, it just creates that much more relativity. I can relate to this guy. I can understand this guy. I kind of get that this guy's getting beaten up a lot, and he's having to weasel his way out of everything possible just to survive. But haven't we all been cornered in our lives in similar circumstances after a fashion? I really do like Adam Cole for that. He's the relatable hero that we're looking for as much as anything else. Because in a world where the big boys no longer necessarily play, I'm still looking for someone who's just a bit nerdy, plays games, and probably is going to get beat up more than he beats other people up, let's be fair.
And nobody makes a good beat up look. If you can make a good beat up look good, yeah, I think you have a future in this business. Awesome. Before we kind of go on to the next topic, I do want to take the time just to let everybody know how much we appreciate you joining us right now. And if by chance you want to do us a solid and tell your friends to jump on to our local establishment, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch, and just help out and say hi, let's do it, because we here at our our local establishment. Love meeting new people. And you know what? We might even raid you at the end of this. That's how much we appreciate you being here. We will show you the love and support because that is the OLE way.
Thanks for joining us, afternoon, gents. Man, you're out of bed, buddy. Good to see. We were up a little bit late last night, Basser and I, sipping some suds. So it's good to see you made it to the show here, but I barely did myself.
Well, you know who's probably drinking some suds, or at least celebrating, and that is Mickie James, as she became the Knockouts champion in her quest in the last rodeo at Hard to Kill this past Friday, defeating Jordan Grace, which was a great match, by the way. And I'm very happy that this was given the main event slot. I thought it deserved it. I thought the story was great. I personally have bias to Mickie James. I do think she is the GOAT when it comes to female wrestlers, but absolutely amazing. Just to see Mickie James becoming the Knockouts champion, thus continuing this last rodeo. Thoughts on Mickie James, because I would love to see more of her. I know she recently just answered the question on if she was to be in the Hall of Fame. She would love Trish Stratus. That's always going to get people talking, especially when we're, 10 days? No, yeah, about 11 days away from the Royal Rumble, where we know the Forbidden Door is just normal.
Normal. We don't see that much Forbidden Door in the Royal Rumble. I know we saw Mickie James last year, but that was quite the exception. We've had a lot more to do with how she went out, I feel. That said, I don't think she was too successful or particularly treated well, given the history, the heritage, as it were, of Mickie James. And since returning to Impact, I'm extremely happy with everything that she's done. For me, the big thing was just getting hardcore country back. You call it a theme in WWE. You can't call it a theme, though. There was no hype or anything behind her music in WWE. She just didn't have everything needed for the star power that she actually had. You put her in Impact. They've been doing a great job for a long time. Matches like this really do prove that point. What they're lacking in Impact is just star power. They've got the wrestling. They've got the storylines. They just needed a couple of bigger name stars. Mickie James, treated like this, will be one of those that carry the company forward.
Yeah, and I think, the quality, like you say, the quality of the wrestling over there is fantastic. And that, Mickie James, does she put a foot wrong anytime she steps in the ring? She is probably one of the best, not only female wrestlers of the last couple of decades, but just one of the best wrestlers of the last couple of decades, period. All gender aside, she is phenomenal. How does the last rodeo end? It's an interesting question. I don't know who you have go over Mickie James after it all, or does Mickie James decide it ends with her retiring as champion? It's up for debate. I don't know who. You'd almost want to see her put somebody young over, somebody who's on the rise. That would be the best way. I'm assuming, Parrish, you could probably attest to this more. The best way for a wrestler to go out in their career is probably to hand the torch to somebody who's up and coming.
That is definitely one way you can go about it. I think it's somebody who's just the right person. And they don't have to be, a 24-year-old up and coming future. They could be, a 30-year-old proven factor that is able to carry the torch for the next 5 to 10 years. I think that's very doable as well. I know we heard Undertaker say he would have preferred a Roman Reigns over Brock Lesnar. And I think a lot of people would have preferred Bray Wyatt too at that point. But it could be anyone. We talked about star power. How absolutely blown away could this be if they brought back, like a Trish Stratus or a leader for a one-time thing in Impact, and that was the person? Or could it be like a Jordan Grace, who she just defeated for the title, or a Deonna Purrazzo, who at one point was the hottest commodity in women's professional wrestling just a short time ago? And then we also have Masha Slamovich, Tasha Steelz. Those are younger names that the general public are learning about now. So I double clicked that button then. My apologies. So yeah, you can go in whole different ways, but as long as the story is told the right way and you can get to that end game, I think that's what matters. And at the end of the day, it's as long as Mickie James as a performer feels fulfilled, that's very crucial to this whole story as well.
I think they could almost bring in somebody like Queen Aminata, who has been killing it on the independents and having a lot of matches against a lot of the named women that have been brought up here all together. I think she has star quality about her. I think if you brought her in and made her a dominant person, she could go in, take that strap off of Mickie James, become the new champion, and be the next person to be holding that company in the women's division. And in general, I really, truly, firmly believe she will be one of the next bigger names of women's pro wrestling over the next couple of years.
I think there's a couple of possibilities as someone who takes the title. I think the obvious one would be Deonna Purrazzo, taking it back from one big name to another developing big name, and someone who has taken the company and in many ways wrestling by storm since moving to Impact. Deonna would make the most sense for me. When it comes to Mickie James, I think this will last quite a while. I also think it's worth mentioning that we do see quite a lot of Japanese wrestlers or wrestlers who work in New Japan Stardom moving across, however briefly. Now, the relationship's been tenuous since the use of Okada, but it is starting to strengthen again. We've seen Jay White, for example, make appearances on Impact. With the New Japan Women's Championship, or the IWGP Women's Championship, being created quite recently, they are looking to develop women from the dojo and put them onto that secondment, let them have the time in a different promotion. I think you could look at someone like Kairi, for example, popping over for a little while and at least spending 6 months in Impact, drawing more attention, giving them an audience in a whole new part of the world, and potentially then handing it off to someone like Deonna Purrazzo in a lot of heat and good old-fashioned heel work. I think as much as anything, it's a very long-term story, and Mickie James is just a small part of it here. When it comes to that women's championship, wherever it goes next, it's going to be real hot. They just need to find a way to maintain it.
And then the question becomes, does the last rodeo actually end with the championship change? Just because she loses the championship doesn't mean that has to be the last rodeo. And going back to something you were saying, Parrish, it could be interesting if she were to choose to maybe bring in Trish Stratus in any capacity for that one last match. I'm sure if Mickie reached out to Trish for one last match with her on a show, that would be one of few times I'm sure Trish Stratus would have no problem making the date.
Who knows? Sometimes all you need to do is hear the right thing to say yes, right? Like, you just have to hear the right pitch. You just have to be told, you just have to have it spun to you the proper way. And you're just like, okay, let's do it, right? Sometimes you just need the right amount of alcohol in your system to say yes. Who knows? I think we've all been there. No need to expand on that. But at the same time, we're talking, Tom, you mentioned about a big star. And one of the biggest stars in women's wrestling right now is Mercedes Moné. Could we one day maybe, or is that a possibility to see Mercedes Moné go up against Mickie James for the Knockout Championship?
Mercedes, as she is known now, is looking to expand the Mercedes brand way beyond wrestling. Part of that involves working with a lot of different companies. She's been open about a world tour, taking over the whole world. And I don't think it's outside of the realms of possibility, particularly with, as I say, that working relationship a lot stronger than it has been, to see Mercedes, while under New Japan contract, making a couple of appearances in Impact. Though I don't necessarily think she'd be winning a championship. That said, I also think the same is true of Trish Stratus. If she came in, she'd probably be more looking likely to lose. And I have a lot of respect to anyone who would do that, to be fair.
Ed coming in saying, OLE podcast doesn't suggest making important choices while intoxicated. No.
But that's news to me.
I think that's just life.
I am unhappy to hear that there is a grown-up in the room. I was promised carnage.
Well, I mean, technically in this room, not really. We might be three men. We're just not the three wise men.
I could work with that.
Okay. I'm a 40-year-old man-child. That's all it is.
Yeah. I think being a man-child is my future. One of these days, I'm going to be a man.
Fair enough.
Speaking of men, I think a real man needs to make sure that he has the proper amount of energy in his system. And what better way to go to rogueenergy.com using the promo code OLEPODS and getting 10% off your order. Real man knows how to treat his body right. And go to rogueenergy.com. A real man knows how to save some money. Therefore, use the promo code. Bobby, take this up because I am going to absolutely choke right now.
Losing your voice. So if you're looking for an alternative to the everyday average energy drink that you'll buy out of your local convenience store, you're going to want to head on over to Rogue Energy. What they offer is a sugar-free, low-calorie, vegan-friendly alternative that you can purchase from them, bursting with flavors, all sorts of choices for everybody out there. You can get the shakers like Parrish is rocking there in right beside me. That's the Rogue Energy Shaker. You can get a variety of those as well too. They got cool swag. And if you're one of our US watchers, you know that you can also order cans of Rogue Energy now too. And they just dropped their brand new cherry lemonade flavor as of Friday. So check that out. Use that promo code OLEPODS for 10% off of your order.
Yeah. It also helps us make us money, and we like that.
I think Ed's challenging to come on in. I think Ed wants to make an appearance on Busting Out by the sounds of it. That's what I'm gathering from this. At least.
Well, Ed, you've been here before. You know the password. Just
Yeah, you know where to go.
We're not. When we say it's an open door policy, it's not because we're nice. It's because we're too poor to afford a door. That's the real issue.
That's, of course, the lesser known thing about the APA. They had the door, but they couldn't afford the walls.
Yeah. We're making some money, not a lot of money. Yeah. But what is making money right now is the Bloodline. They are drawing some serious money. And the story kind of took a little turn on SmackDown as we saw for the first time ever Roman Reigns apologizing to Sami Zayn. After Sami was trying to apologize to the tribal chief, Roman Reigns stopped him and said, "I don't accept your apology because I'm the one who should be apologizing." Really comes off thinking that there's a lot more mutual respect from Roman Reigns and appreciation for the honorary use. But my question is, where does this story go? Because at some point, I'm now saying I'm conflicted. Is Sami going to turn? Is Roman going to turn? Is Paul Heyman going to be the one who just, divides? Who knows? I don't know anymore. All I know is I'm invested 110% in this story because it is good stuff and it's very, very interesting. Your guys' thoughts?
I mean, for me personally, it has to be Roman that attacks Sami. That's the only way to do it, at least at first, because the natural babyface that Sami is becoming, he's clearly one of the most over baby faces without being a babyface in the company currently. You gain that sympathy for him when all of a sudden he is turned on by the very group that he is, fought beside, turned on best friends, lifelong best friends for. When they finally take that time to beat him up, the sympathy that is going to be on the face of every fan in the arena and everyone watching around the world will be enough to make Sami Zayn possibly the top babyface in the company moving forward from there. I think that arguably he then starts teaming up with Kevin Owens, and then you can have them go and be the ones to topple the Usos for the tag team title reign. I think it would be a magical moment. It'd be absolutely perfect. But yes, I think Sami will have his measure of revenge, but I think Roman does the attack before Sami.
They've created just enough uncertainty for me to be invested, and that's important. When you have a breakup, it has to happen at the exact point at which people have given up on it ever happening. Because otherwise, there's just a whole lot of, oh, we saw this coming. Oh, okay, here it is, and so on and so forth. It's the same way people love Roman right now, even though they were begging for him to turn heel, because they gave up on him turning heel. It took just too long. The Festival of Friendship, which this is getting a lot of comparisons to already, because we know what's coming. We knew Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho would break up. But when the Festival of Friendship came, we just about given up. We just about learned to accept the fact that maybe they're not going to break up. And maybe, just maybe, they're just going to keep going. And we're very, very excited about that. And that is the moment where we are right now, because we're still talking about a breakup. But what if they didn't? How good would that be? Now, you don't see a lot of wrestlers who actually have friends. You don't see it. You have factions, you have groups, you have tag teams. They're all doomed pretty much from the start. You very rarely see actual wrestler friendships. Little moments backstage. I think back to Kevin Owens and Baron Corbin coming together to annoy Shane McMahon. You very rarely see any actual friendships that aren't part of a storyline, but that was one of them. Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, they have this natural chemistry because they clearly really like each other. And it actually trumps anything Roman is doing with the Usos. Because while they are related, while they wrestle really well together, there just isn't that much of an emotional reaction between them because they're working on their cues, they're working on their acting, they're working on their lines. And then Sami invents the word Usi. And everyone breaks. And Roman breaks. The amount of times you've seen Paul Heyman make the face of, oh, he's going to attack Sami. I know he likes Sami. I didn't expect that. But it's happening non-stop. Roman and Sami, the entire story tells me, genuinely like each other to a point where if there's going to be a breakup, yes, Roman's going to attack Sami, but I think Sami throws the first hit. I think it's Jay who's a wild card here who's going to kick this all off. I think the Usos turn on Sami, and Sami turns on Roman as a result, but Roman hits hardest. I don't know how that's going to work in making someone the top babyface, but the reason for that is because I think he's already there. Even going back to wrestling against Johnny Knoxville, you could see it. It was there. A year later, it's been the year of Sami Zayn. I just want to make sure that whatever happens, we keep this magic. And honestly, I'm not sure a tag team with Kevin Owens does that anymore, because at this point, with the build that it's had, it's World Championship or nothing.
That's fair. Very fair.
The more videos I watch Stone Cold Steve Austin train and work out, the more I want Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens to beat the Usos for the tag team titles.
I could see that. I could see that.
Okay.
It was way back in
if that starts in Texas at the Royal Rumble. The irony is amazing.
It was, if you're a regular on the spoiler warning shows over on my channel, we started talking about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos in September. It was one of those storylines where it was clear where they were headed. It was clear what the intention was. And Sami Zayn wasn't exactly hiding what he was doing either. Kevin Owens was just returning as a babyface. He'd been a heel up until then. He's always been a favorite of Triple H. You could see that going. With everything that's happened since, I want that to be pivoted. I think we were talking at the same time about Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. That sure seems like it's been pivoted as well. If you can't read the room and you can't change a plan that's 9 months old, maybe you shouldn't be making those decisions, because Sami Zayn is white hot right now. And if we're going down the route of a Cody Rhodes, if we're going down the route of a Rock, there's 2 championships there. And Sami Zayn is on the cusp of an absolute top level babyface run. Just give him the shot.
And with Elimination Chamber in his hometown of Montreal, it's hard to believe that there's not a big segment plan between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn at some point. It's hard to believe that they're not going to execute that moment with a payoff for Sami Zayn in any way. Is there?
I'm not sure what that payoff could be, given that it's between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and Sami Zayn is not going into WrestleMania as a world champion.
Or
no.
Arguably, do you have the Elimination Chamber for the number 1 contender spot? Oh, I guess you wouldn't, because Roman's got both belts unless they decide to split them. And Roman is going to fight on both nights like they're talking about.
Again, something we've been talking about for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so do you go and have Elimination Chamber for the number 1 contender with Roman telling Sami, if you win, you choose a different title altogether. You go after the IC belt or something like that. You don't touch my title kind of thing. And when he ends up costing him or something like that, that's when the tensions grow and things go sour.
I would 100% have Sami Zayn and Jey Uso as the final 2 in the Royal Rumble. I would have Sami Zayn specifically told, get out of the ring now. So let Jay win because Jay will do as he's told and not challenge at all. I would have Sami eliminate Jay anyway. Elimination Chamber, I'd give Cody his moment. That at least means that he still gets a championship shot, which I think he's definitely in the running for, but doesn't necessarily win the Royal Rumble as he is currently the favorite for. And yeah, at that point, once Cody's going for one belt, someone just suggests to Sami, well, there is another belt on the line here you could be going after. You can have a tag team championship match on night one and a world championship match on night two. I know I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, but I think it's the right basket to put them in.
Yeah. I'm liking how it
I have
sounds.
no problem with the go big or go home mentality. I can get behind that. The one thing I do want to say, Tom, you were saying that you think Jey Uso is the wild card here. I'm going to slightly go in a different way. I think a wild card is also the mystery card, and that is Solo Sikoa. I have a feeling that there is a long-term build on Solo Sikoa right now. As we saw on Monday, it was just him and the Usos. There's no Sami, and there is no Roman Reigns. So it looks like he is being put in a position to see if he could lead the charge at times. And he is definitely growing on the main roster from an in-ring performer standpoint. His matches are getting better and better and better. He seems to be on the same playing field as Roman when it comes to how they view Sami Zayn. He seems to be very pro-Sami as well. He also has the trust of the Usos. I'm wondering if Solo Sikoa is the real wild card to the bloodline right now.
For me, with Solo, I think he's getting a great background push, but I do think it's too early. I do think, though, when it comes to the moment that the turn, similar to Evolution, I think Solo will be the one to offer the thumbs down. He's the powerhouse. He's a decider.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that right now it's hard to predict because no matter where we think this is going, it somehow kind of just takes that sharp left turn and we're just like, okay, but you're going back here, right? And they keep steering away, but you're still invested in that ride. So it's a very interesting dynamic they have going on. And as you said, Sami Zayn's having the year of his life. Like
Absolutely.
The last 365 days have definitely been owned by Sami Zayn. And yeah, it's really weird because we're living in a time where I think patience is definitely a virtue. And we're seeing WWE now continuing title reigns, whether it was, in NXT with Mandy Rhodes having the title for as long as she did, whether it's Roman Reigns being champion since he took it off Bruno Sammartino. Just kidding, people. It's been a while, though. We've also seen Gunther having the Intercontinental title for a while now, the Usos with tag titles. We're seeing a lot more of that in WWE now. And now we're seeing the storytelling kind of go in that same way. So I don't know, for me, I'm just happy that right now we're in that time to build to WrestleMania. We're now nearing the Royal Rumble. And your WWE champion, Universal champion, whatever, is involved in one of the best long-term storylines there is. This, to me, now feels like wrestling and WWE is getting back on track.
This time last year, Brock Lesnar was a challenger, and it didn't feel anything like this. I'd certainly agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are we leading ourselves into WrestleMania? Because a week ago, everybody reporting around the world would have had you believe we were heading into Saudi Mania this year.
Well, before we
oh, you wonderful reporting people out there. Great job.
Well, I mean, before we get into that, I just want, I'm sensing a little bit of undecisiveness with the people watching about Rogue Energy. So I just want to say, if you're not too sure about Rogue Energy, here's a quick video to showcase what flavors they have. We're not teasing you, but we're just saying, okay. RogueEnergy.com. You said it. We have to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room. WWE up for sale. Who's going to buy it? Because as of Tuesday, the entire world was led to believe Saudi Arabia was purchasing WWE. The world was said to believe that the Iron Sheik could have been the new CEO of WWE.
I know what the Iron Sheik would have said to that.
I think it would have been better than Vince McMahon. But nonetheless, we were told a lot of things. Tom, I want to give you a personal sign of respect because I was checking your social media a lot. You didn't say a lot of things. And I thought this was a story where silence spoke a lot and spoke louder. A lot of people saw fake news. A lot of people didn't say much. Personally, I grown more respect to the people that just told the honest truth, said this is a rumor, we don't have anything confirmed. I also respect the people that didn't say anything and didn't get teased in the situation. As the real journalist in this room, what do you know about the sale to WWE? Because let's face it, you're smarter at this stuff than we are.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you for that sign of respect as much as anything else. And the words real journalist always come with a certain amount of responsibility that I take very seriously. On Tuesday, the first reports went out that Stephanie McMahon had resigned. I went live at the time. We were live for about an hour. This led into NXT. It's 1 a.m. over here in the UK. I went to sleep. I was aware of none of this happening. And I'm so glad. So glad. I went to bed seeing all of the, big news is coming. The eyeball emojis. The people who were desperately hyping up news that they definitely couldn't say, but they definitely knew about. This sort of stuff infuriates me to no end. If you don't have enough of sources, facts, verified information, you say nothing. That's it. The world of wrestling media, and to be fair, this is the blame of any profitable media. There is a point of a free press. The point of a free press is that there should not be profit linked, because when there's profit linked, it becomes a competition. When there's competition, you get people who are desperately trying to make out that they know every single thing. What you don't have is what we try and do, at least on my channels, a well-informed group of people sourcing everything they say and spending a lot of time saying, maybe that one's not worth discussing just yet. I woke up and I had received messages. I shared this on Twitter, essentially saying, as far as I can tell, there has been no sale. At that point, that was what I knew. It was verified. It was confirmed. It was multiple sourced. I said nothing after that because I had nothing after that. About 4 hours later, Ariel Helwani confirmed what I'd already said. There is no sale. Now, there's a lot going on here. Primarily, how quick do you think a sale of a $6 to $8 billion company can go? There has to be a process. There has to be, especially a public company, a whole load of different companies going into a bidding process. There has to be an element of competition for it. You can't just say, oh, they've made a bid, we'll just sell it immediately. Pardon me. There has to be shareholder meetings. All of this hasn't even happened yet. There is a spring meeting for the shareholders. So everything currently being discussed is not even formal yet. They have not announced to shareholders in a formal shareholder meeting that the WWE is for sale yet. They haven't. So how can they sell it if they've not formally gone through all of the legal requirements? Now, I'm not as au fait on US law as I am UK law, but let me tell you this. The company still hasn't been sold. That is undeniable fact, especially when you consider who's actually buying it here. The rumor was the investment fund from Saudi Arabia, the ones who own Newcastle Football Club. They also have a stake in Twitter. They have a stake in Facebook. They have a stake in Uber. They have a stake in multiple sports companies. They are inescapable here. Did those purchases happen within a couple of days? No, not even close. Not only that, but they'd need more than this time just to work out what to do with the actual deal with this exact same fund for the 10 years of 2 pay-per-views per year in the Saudi Arabian country. They need to work out what to do with that. You also then have to handle the conflicting interests, the deal with USA Network, the deal with Fox, every other possible deal, including BT Sport. There are so many moving parts that are already being worked on but have not yet been worked out. And it amazed me how many people bought into these reports. These particular reports, there's always disinformation. There's always false information out there. I have lost track of the amount of different people who've said this is happening, this is happening. Every week, someone tells me, oh, this guy's reporting that Sami Zayn's turning this week. Every week we had, oh, Sasha's back this week. It's constantly there. And then the next week, people have forgotten about it. My advice is always the same. Remember what they say. Because if you start remembering what they get wrong and remember what they do get right, you'll start to work out exactly what the situation is, and you'll start to work out who to trust. The loudest people always have the least to say. I get hot.
Oh, that's beautifully said, actually. And again, yeah, I mean, like, I know we got the ticker down there talking about all the rumored companies and stuff like that are talking about buying WWE. And again, it comes down to that, just rumor. And you could make the argument for anybody with that kind of money to spend, taking a look at it. I mean, you could start making arguments for just about anybody. You could throw it out there that Elon Musk was looking at buying WWE just as much as he was looking at buying Manchester United 3 months ago. I mean, it's rumors, it's talk, it's just things right now. And that's all it is. I mean, people are getting hot about, oh, the cons might buy WWE and amalgamate it with AEW. Not necessarily. Again, like there's processes, like Tom, you said, things that have to be gone through, and agreements too. Like you said about the networks, they got to agree that we're okay with this company being involved to continue your television that you're currently doing with us, that's contracted, and all these things. There is so many hoops to jump through, and people are forgetting about some of the other hoops that are kind of in the background right now. It was just reported the other day that the lawsuit filed by MLW CEO Court Bauer on them is actually a big thorn in the side of the sale of WWE at the moment too. They are trying to file for dismissal of this particular lawsuit because there will be upwards to millions of dollars that could be lost on behalf of WWE if they have to go through proceedings and findings with MLW during this procedure.
And that's before you consider slap suits, just to slip that in.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we live in a world where we want the instant gratification, right? Like if somebody turns, okay, who's going to be the first person that they feud with? Like you said, what's going to be the end game, right? I mean, it's fun to talk about. That's what we do, right? Like it's exactly what we do. We got to create that narrative just to get people talking, and that's what pro wrestling is all about. You do something for the chatter afterwards. But at the same time, when it comes to legalities, that stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like you said, like there are just a lot of stuff you get through. That's why, like, if anybody has bought a car, bought a house, bought anything of that status, it takes time, it takes effort, and it doesn't take you as quickly of a time as you think. It takes a while. It's a process. That's why there's a phrase in legal called dual process. But it's interesting to see where the mind can take you at times, as we know Twitter does that anyway. But when it comes to wrestling Twitter, especially with WWE wrestling Twitter, I think, and this is probably the Batman psychology, some people just want to see the world burn, and I feel that's very true when it comes to anything Vince McMahon WWE related. I think people want to believe Saudi is going to buy WWE because they want to shut it off their lives. They don't want to be a WWE fan anymore. I do believe that there's a lot of people like that. But at the same time, I also do believe that WWE is the powerhouse, the juggernaut in pro wrestling. It's going to make a sale if they see it's fit. They don't have to. This could be, like you said, when we were talking about the Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns thing. What happens if they just don't split up? What happens if WWE doesn't sell? It's very possible. Are there people that we'd want to see buy it? Sure. But that's all relative to what's actually really going on. And that's why this ticker It's just there to mess with you.
If you'll permit me a moment to go slightly off the rails and go into a topic I'm pretty passionate about.
Right off them.
There has been, and it's happened for a long time now, there is a war on truth. And a large part of that is a attack on journalism in general, all across the world in all different fields. It's how we got Brexit in the UK. It's how we got Donald Trump in the US. Reality and facts don't matter anymore. It matters who says it first and who says it loudest. But as I said, the loudest people are often the ones with the least to say. We are seeing this perfectly because news is profitable now. And it doesn't have to be right because it's based on how many times you click on that news. How many times do you think people clicked on that news? When you look at some of the sources for it, there was a Reddit source, Kermit, and then a number of numbers, who we are told via Squared Circle has been vetted and is always correct. A week before this news, they reported Cody Rhodes and Edge would be back on that episode of Raw. A week later, we'd all forgotten about it, apparently. Everyone is looking for the next fact. And you're absolutely right. Some people are looking for the worst story so that they can instantly believe it. This is part of the world that we live in now. When news is profitable, there is no pressure for news to be accurate. And when you're on a 24-hour news cycle, when you're desperate to just get more out there and more out there, you see so many outlets making 4 reports on one quote, making their assumptions, trying to make profitable their opinions by purporting it as news. It is not accurate, it is not right, and it ignores one fundamental, the most fundamental principle of journalism. Is this in public interest? If the WWE had been sold to Saudi Arabia, it would not be in the public interest to announce it in the way that it was announced. No journalist worth their salt would have done that.
Safe to say that if you want to believe truth, the best way is understanding the difference between speculation and fact.
Sorry, once again, I get a bit hot on that one.
No, it's great because I think it sheds a lot of light in the positive way of understanding what's going on. I don't think people necessarily realize how much actually goes into stuff like this. And if they do, there might be a concerning thought in their minds about perhaps why this is going on. Because sometimes we know it's going on, like something that is happening, but we don't know why at times. And I feel the why is very much left for discussion for a lot of people. Not a lot of people explain the why. I say this a lot when I train people for, like if I was training people in wrestling, I can show you how to do 100 moves, but if I don't tell you why to do them, you're not any wiser at the end of the day. And I like to take that kind of process into a lot of my personal life on a lot of things. If I can't explain why I'm doing something, if I can't explain why I chose this, is there really a point? And just like you said, with public interest, that's basically a company telling the people why we're doing this.
I completely agree. It certainly tells me who's worth listening to based on what they report and not necessarily how much they report. There is definitely a lot that you'll hear and that you'll be told, and working as a journalist as I do, which you will never discuss. But part of not discussing it is not discussing it. Part of not saying anything, not feeding the fire, is not hinting, not probing, not saying, oh, I've heard something really hot, you better subscribe to my service. I've got to point out that a certain level of potential hypocrisy is here. I'm independently at a YouTube channel. I do make money based on the news that I cover. I would make a lot more money if I was a sensationalist, as Lauren is discussing right there, if I was making stuff up, and if I was going live every single night saying, breaking news, the sky is falling. I would rather make less money and hold some integrity.
We'll do one more thing. Before you say that, we'll need you to say it again, but after this.
That's how we.
The sky is falling. I like that.
That's brilliant, right there.
That was good.
You said the magic words, so we had to put it in.
There is just one last thing to touch on this public interest thing. I got a lot of heat many years ago for a report that NXT UK was being shut down. I got a huge amount of heat from that. I considered it in the public interest because if you read the report, there was talk on how they're dealing with speaking out. There was talk about discussions with individuals. There was talk about jobs and reliability there. It took 2 years for that to be officially confirmed, but it was an interview around the time of Clash of the Castle, Ariel Helwani and Triple H, when it was confirmed that just as the pandemic came in, shortly before my report, they were looking at shutting down NXT UK to bring in NXT Europe. That is public interest. I got in a whole lot of crap just for sticking to it, and I'm very proud that I did, because that is public interest and that is what I care about.
And Ed wants to know how much of the news that you hear you don't report on because you can't get those confirmations.
Okay, so there's a lot of different things which people say which are off the record, and as a moment of respect, and also in many ways to protect a source, you won't be sharing that information. If you then hear the same off-the-cuff remarks from 4 or 5 different people, maybe it's worth having that conversation again, but you still can't necessarily report it. Then you get people who come to you and say, this is happening, this is fact, and you can get it from several people, but they're also not necessarily of sound mind. You then have to consider the impact. During speaking out, I'm not going to name any names naturally, people came to me to speak about certain wrestlers and experiences that they'd had. They were not of sound mind for me to go out there reporting it. I have a duty of care to them. I also, even though I may not like it, have a duty of care to the wrestlers accused. You have to consider that as well. I hear a lot that I don't report because I can't confirm. Also, I'm not the most well-connected guy in the world. I can't always get a second source. Sometimes I'll get one source and I simply cannot possibly get another one. And then a couple of days later, it'll pop up somewhere else because someone else is better connected than me. There are plenty of people better connected than me in the wrestling world. We try our best. We do what we can.
And how much of validating a source, whether it's confirming it with a second source, is it crucial to proper journalism in your eyes? Because you talk about like always wanting to make sure that you have done, say, let's just use the phrase dual diligence on what you do. But how important is confirming your source? Because like you said, in today's world, you can go on Twitter and you can say that's this or this is a source, because I'll just say Johnny Twitter handle says one thing, but at the end of the day, that could be complete smoke and mirrors, and that can be complete BS as it is. So when you say confirming a source, is that maybe one of the biggest things you have to do to be a credible journalism today?
Absolutely, you do. And there's a number of different reasons for it. First and foremost, you need to know that the information is right. Secondly, you need to know the information is coming from the correct individual. It's not that hard to verify a source. You can certainly, and nowadays you DM someone on Twitter, though not so much anymore because the blue ticks aren't necessarily used for that anymore. So we've got that to consider. There are a number of different ways, even if it's just a quick Skype call, jumping on a StreamYard for 5 minutes, a certain amount of promise that you won't actually communicate in certain ways. But also, and I feel this isn't discussed enough, every single person you talk to has an agenda. And this isn't necessarily an automatic negative. I'm on this show. You invited me onto this show. Undoubtedly, there was an agenda to it. The agenda might be some more content. Let's have a good show. There are plenty of different ways to do it. Everyone has agendas, good and bad. If you're looking for news from a source, they might be giving you the right information so that 3 times down the line, they can give you the wrong information on something big. You will get people who work within big companies who are either trying to work you or have been clearly instructed to give you false information. That does happen. And I think every single wrestling journalist has at some point said something which simply isn't the case because they've been fed wrong information and fallen for it. It does happen. It happens quite a lot, particularly around WrestleMania season. A lot of stuff comes out which is not even close to true. You also get a lot of false rumor killers. And that is always a fun one. That's a real fun one because you'll see a rumor come out, you'll see a lot of rumor killers come out, and people think, oh, Well, that definitely wasn't true. But the rumor killer is false, not the rumor. I remember PW Insider reporting the earliest days of the pandemic that SmackDown would be moving to the Performance Center. The WWE shortly afterwards released a statement stating that this would not happen. That very night, the WWE had moved to the Performance Center. Again, these moments are very much worth remembering. Very much worth remembering.
Yeah. And I'm just going to shed a light before I go to you, Bobby. In the backstage for a show, you have no idea how many times you can like throw up scenarios for an angle or whatever at a wrestling show. If a fan or whatever heard that there's 5 scenarios, they might go all in on one, and that might be the least likely one in the worker's eyes. So you still have that you're not properly connected to the information, and that's why it's better. Instead of just hearing one, you're confirming, like you said. And that could be just a small example of confirming your source, but at the same time, yeah, it's really easy to get sidetracked, and it's very easy to go off the rails. If you don't believe me, watch the show. Bobby, yeah, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say a lot of the modern reporting tends to remind me of the Simpsons episode where Homer gets his computer and decides to create his own website for the very first time. And he starts just reporting absolute bullshit things that he's making up off the top of his head that people start buying as absolute truth until he actually gets one of them right, which tends to be a lot of the cases where you're like, well, remember when this company got this right? Of course, because if you say 10 bullshit things, one of them might actually come true.
It's a baseball analogy, right? You can hit the ball 1 out of 4 times and you're still an all-star. Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know, it's weird, but at the same time, I think this is very important when we're talking about a very serious issue like WWE being up for sale, that people need to just do the most famous thing, and that is shut your mouth, open your ears, and open your eyes. And you go a very long way when you do that. And from what I understand, that is exactly what Roman Reigns' number 1 advice was to Solo Sikoa when he joined the main roster. And yeah, best advice.
It's been a perfect example of it ever since.
Yeah, perfect advice I was given. And it's been echoed through a lot of people. So when you hear that, you know it's good.
Yeah.
But
eyes down, ears open, and mind your business.
Yeah. What's that one? It's better to say nothing at all and have everyone think you're an idiot than open up your mouth and prove everyone right. Yeah, pretty big on this one. And I think Twitter really needs to just pin that tweet on Twitter.
Absolutely. Oh, Twitter. It feels worse, but I don't think it actually is recently. I think it's always been like this. Since moving most of the news reporting that I do to YouTube, I've been so much happier.
But, I mean, let's take this into more of a happier thought as we give some shout-outs to a couple pro wrestlers, shall we? Ginny from NXT UK has officially announced her retirement from professional wrestling. And Shelton Benjamin, as we forgot to talk about last week, and we thought it was very apropos, seeing this is the 20th episode of Busting Out, that we talk about the celebration of Shelton Benjamin hitting 20 years inside the world of professional wrestling, especially in WWE. Absolute giant milestones. I was a huge supporter of Ginny. I thought she was the perfect female presence to Imperium, and I was really hoping I was right. I'm not.
Good thing you didn't report it.
No, I talked way too much to say what I'm saying is true. All right. And if you want a second source, my wife is upstairs.
I like the quote there. I talked way too much for it to be true. I like that.
Yeah. I'm very aware that this has no filter to this. All right. That might be a good t-shirt for me.
But, yeah, I mean, Ginny retiring, congratulations for her to make that decision and move on to whatever she does next in her ways. And Shelton Benjamin, 20 years, man. doesn't feel like it's been that long already. But I mean, what a great professional he's always been. I've always enjoyed his work. I had the opportunity to meet him at one point in time too. He's a class act human being as well. Always enjoyed him, and I love hearing stories about him. How he's the one guy that kind of doesn't always have to be like the other guys. He's not in the gym 24/7. He's not eating the types of foods the other guys are or anything like that. He's the guy that shows up to the wrestling show and he's got, his McDonald's bag with him or something like that. And he doesn't get all blown up in the ring in his process. Good metabolism on that guy.
I have a lot of respect for both of these. For Ginny, I saw her at Royal Quest, the New Japan show. I was hoping that meant she was going to be joining their division, but apparently not on that one. And as regards to Shelton Benjamin, I've met him just the once in Manchester before a Raw and SmackDown taping at the end of 2019. I saw Shelton Benjamin in the hotel. I was booked into the same hotel as the wrestlers because as a journalist, it's just easier. When you're going into the same hotel to just interview people, you might as well stick around and have that as your base. Saw Shelton Benjamin while everyone else was getting onto the bus. And everyone else was getting ready to go to the shows. Shelton Benjamin just emerged from his room, came down to the lobby, sat eating a burger on the seats and the tables there, and just had that moment of like, yeah. But he is a true pro. There is no questioning in it. In no way is this a mockery, because whatever they have asked him to do, he's done with style, with grace, and with class. And while he hasn't necessarily reached the top level, as many certainly believed he would when he first came in, not everyone has to. No. A lot of people, I look at the Usos as a perfect example. That it is very, very likely neither of them will ever be world champion, but that is still a first ballot Hall of Fame career. Mm-hmm. Shelton Benjamin delivered and has delivered a great career so far, still with potential for more to come. And honestly, I can only be grateful that we lived through it.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be about your title runs. It's about the legacy that you create for yourself and what you leave behind for the fans. Many of the greatest names in the business never won the top prizes within the WWF, WWE, and they're still fondly remembered today. And I believe that people like Shelton Benjamin will do the same. And like you said, with the Usos, it's another name that it's like, yeah, they're going to be remembered for those tag title belts, but that's all they need to be known for. And that and the great matches that they leave behind. It's not always about having to be the number one person with the world belt all the time.
True. And I just wish the prevailing memory of Shelton Benjamin wasn't that moment when he got super kicked by Shawn Michaels when he came off the ropes. Awkward.
Although that was one hell of a
It was,
set.
though, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's easily the... Well, I mean, with like it's... I'll say this because with that being said, and it's a thing when I say it, take a drink. As much as Shelton Benjamin can be remembered for taking probably the best super kick, Evan Bourne can also be known as potentially taking one of the best RKOs. So, and that's, I mean, at least you're being remembered.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's it. Pro wrestling is entertainment. I mean, whether people want to admit it or not, that's what it is, right? Like, and Shelton Benjamin was always entertaining, whether it's the world's greatest tag team, which I think it was some of the best times I thought of him. The team angle was amazing. Whether it's the time that he had his mom and he was the Intercontinental Champion, or he won his first title by being that fan vote for the Taboo Tuesday against Chris Jericho and had, I thought, an amazing impromptu match that I don't think gets enough love. And go check it out if you can, because it's fantastic. Or it's his time with the Hurt Business, or it's, his time tagging with Chad Gable, which I thought was very underrated. He is definitely a serviceable player when you have a pro wrestling company, and there's nothing wrong with that, because look how much we like R-Truth. And Shelton Benjamin is just, I think, a very similar way, but just more of a technical pro wrestler than what we see with the presentation of R-Truth. But now that we're seeing possibly the formation of the Hurt Business again, there's still stock in Shelton Benjamin. And as he nicely put it at the end of his promo, thanking the loud crowd that were giving him nothing but respect, ain't no stopping me now. And I thought that was fantastic, because that theme needs to come back too.
It really does. Wonderful theme. And you know what else needs to come back? Great shows here on our local establishment. We had a lot of people who do a lot of amazing things here, from wrestling to movie talk to things spooky-ooky-ish as well, too, because we got a lot of great content for you. And this coming up week, Monday through Sunday, we've got a busy week here at our local establishment. We're going to play the calendar for this week. We'll be right back. That's what we got coming up this week. A very busy week for us here at our local establishment. A lot of great people creating a lot of great content, and we're very happy to have them all on board here as well, too. Many great friends. And if you ever want to be a part of this, be a guest on this show or any of the other shows, or just get involved more with our local establishment, reach out to anybody here at our OLE, and we'll make sure that you get to be part of this because it's our local establishment.
Yeah, and one of the best ways to do that is by DMing us on any of the platforms you see down below, or even emailing us at olepodcasts@gmail.com. That is probably the best way to let us know. Also, just attack us individually on the DMs as well. Hopefully positive, because that would be more appreciated. I don't need to be told I talk too much. I already know that, people. But again, first off, I just want to say to you, Tom, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I know this was, we've had discussions, might not be the best time always for you, but we definitely appreciate you making the time and having the time and deciding that this was the best way to spend your time. So we appreciate that a lot. And we say thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was a good experience for you.
Yeah, fun. Although a bit disappointed that Ed decided not to jump on after the whole conversation that we need to have about the whole, Celtic thing. Just hiding in the corner there. What was he doing?
That's right. Yeah.
Being heckled.
I mean, was this not the perfect scenario?
Yeah.
We opened it before.
He challenged it. I didn't see him show.
It's like the best.
Next time.
That's actually something I do want to see in wrestling. Somebody just have the open challenge, and then as somebody comes in, they just like, nah, and then just leave. Like, I think that would be so good. I think the closest I saw was like Seth Rollins do that when like everyone else came, and he just like did the Homer Simpson back up and then just left. It's funny. To me, I would just love it as a heel. But yeah, this is kind of the time now. We kind of wrap it up. We kind of tell everybody where you can find us. But Tom, I forgot to do this at the beginning. Anybody who's new to OLE, I always make sure that we challenge them to the OLE Pod Challenge. That is kind of a gimmickly making fun of the Tide Pod Challenge. But instead, what you do is you go and take your mouth straight to your microphone. You yell as loud as you can, Ole.
Good luck to you. I have a full house with kids in it.
Okay, well, can we get a little bit?
You get a little bit. Okay, so okay. Ole.
There we go.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's good.
Exactly what we needed. Just take this time to plug anything you got coming up soon here, Tom, as well as where people can reach out to you on all the socials as well, too.
So the obvious social is Twitter. That is twitter.com/Colohue. That is Colohue. You can find me on YouTube, which is where I put most of my focus at the moment, youtube.com/C/Tom Colohue. We have Spoiler Warning, which is our weekly news show. Happens every Monday and every Friday, 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. And we also have SmackDown and pay-per-view watch parties, including one coming up for the Royal Rumble. With the success of the recent watch parties, the Royal Rumble should be my first 10,000 view show. and I'm really putting a lot of attention into making that happen. We just broke 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we continue to grow at a phenomenal pace. So I just want to say massive thank you to everyone who's given us a chance already, and to everyone who hasn't, by all means, drop on in for the next one.
Awesome. Where you can find me. Okay, so sure, there we go. There's the
I got you. I got you.
I just
three things at once, but I got you.
But of course, there's the ticker. You can catch me on my own personal Twitch, Video Bro Bobby Munson. You can get a hold of me, Real Bobby Munson, on Twitter, and also Video Bros SK on Instagram as well too. And then also you can check out Prairie Pro Wrestling on YouTube every Saturday, dropping a new match every single Saturday afternoon, along with myself and Papa Smokes as on the commentary team. So we got a lot of great action coming up in the upcoming weeks there, including in a few weeks, the Battle Royal to crown a new #1 contender for the Prairie Pro Wrestling Championship. So stay tuned to that. And of course, many shows throughout the week here on our local establishment. Over to you, Parrish.
Well, thank you. You can find me on the Twitter at Chris Parrish. You can find me on the Instagram at Chris.Parrish. You can find me on YouTube at Chris Parrish. You can find me on the Twitch at the Chris Parrish, because somebody took Chris Parrish. Damn you. How dare you? Do you know who I am? Just kidding. I'm nobody. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Also, you can also make sure you're checking out all of our Twitters on OLE. Twitter at OLE Podcast, Instagram, OLE Podcast, Twitch, Our Local Establishment, YouTube at Our Local Establishment, and again, OLE Podcast at gmail.com for everything. That is where you can find all of us. We will be rating Mars OTV. He is playing some Overwatch. He is a friend of the channel. So we want to give him some support, as he has a happy Sunday as well. So in short time, we'll be rating him. In the meantime, thank you so much for everyone for joining us here at OLE at Busting Out. We appreciate you. This is Busting Out, and you're rating Mars TV right now. And anybody watching here on the YouTube, we will be closing the show the same way we normally do, with our beautiful intro. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Ole.